Hey guys, this is Keith from the Coin Crew. How you doing today? Today we're going to do an interview with Rana Vig from Blue Lagoon Resources. He's going to tell you a little bit about himself, his company, and how it relates to you as silver stackers. So here we have Rana Vig.
Thanks, Keith. A pleasure being on your show. I'm basically an entrepreneur. I've been in business most of all my adult life, 30 plus years of various different private enterprise startups. I'm just a startup guy, try to be the dumbest guy in the room, surround myself with very, very smart people in a specific industry that I got involved with and execute on a plan. Then about 10 years ago, I got involved in the capital markets and mining specifically, because the person who was my mentor at the time had made a lot of money in mines, copper mines, gold mines, and so he got me involved. And it's been a rough ride because, as I'm sure you know, and many of your viewers know that gold and silver have been kind of very, very stagnant up until recently for the last 10 or 12 years. They weren't not much was happening with the price of gold and silver, and everybody was kind of scratching their head, what's going on? And suddenly, finally, things have started moving here in the last couple of years. Probably most of us agree, not enough movement, yeah, but at least it had. People forget when I got involved in this current project that I'm the president of, Blue Lagoon Resources. The gold was about $1,350. That was 3 years ago, and today we're sitting around $1,900. So it is a significant move, but not as high as what most of us would like, I think.
Yeah, the gold has been rather volatile lately. It reached highs just over 2,000. It's fell below 1,900. Now it's just above 1,900 today. Um, with all this validity and it's touching them all-time highs, do you think we're going to see reach higher all-time highs in 2022?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a firm believer of that, and it's just a function of what's happening around the world. There's so much chaos, and this is the environment that typically gold and silver like. You've got we're just coming off, hopefully, from the pandemic. I mean, that was a crazy year for the last 2.5 years that we've been in that. We've got this war now happening in the Ukraine and Russia, and who knows how that spreads. Hopefully not, but there's all this turmoil. So all of these things really make an impact. And then on top of that, mining companies have not invested a lot of money in producing new mines. So, this is not something you can just turn on in a snap of a finger. It takes hundreds of millions of dollars of exploration work and then development and the timeline to get into actual production. So absolutely, I see the price of gold and silver going higher, much, much higher this year and into the future.
Now, you mentioned that not a lot of mining companies have put a lot of money into investing into the futures of mining. Could that be because of I guess you could say, ridiculously high inflation we've had lately? And also, to add to that, how would the cost of more mining expenditures reflect the physical silver and gold markets as well?
Yeah, no, mostly the mining, the big producers, the people the companies that actually, produce the gold and silver and other commodities, they are not in the business of exploration. Their job is to produce. Once the property gets, far enough, they produce. So they don't typically invest. It's the junior companies that, like ours, in Blue Lagoon Resources, we are the ones who go and invest in exploration, develop a property, because, it's very high risk. These things, right? Because it takes a lot of money and a lot of time to find something and then develop it. But unfortunately, because the way the price of gold and silver has been over the last decade or so, 12 years or so, there hasn't been a lot of investment. So companies like ours just weren't very active. And that's been one of the main reasons why the development just hasn't been there. But now, with gold and silver being a lot more active here in the last 2-3 years, and of course the supply constraints around the world, not just gold and silver, but copper is another great example. So the mining sector seems to be coming back, and a lot more investments is happening in the sector now.
There has been a lot of interest in copper. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the premiums for a fabricated piece of copper, kind of like silver, just really, really high.
Well, it's the demand, right? You've got this huge movement coming with electric vehicles. You know, the average electric car takes 4 times more copper than its alternative. So that, you know, and then you've got all the power grids and buildings, and you know, new bridges being built, and all of this needs copper, and that's why you're going to see copper prices much higher.
Yeah, I think copper is going to be a whole lot more expensive, along with nickel as well. You guys are also exploring for copper, nickel, and several different metals, not just silver and gold, correct?
Not so much nickel, but yes, we have lots of silver. In fact, we have it's a 1 to 4 ratio, 4 to 1 ratio for silver gold. You know, on our property, on our main Boulder vein, and we have copper as well that we're exploring.
Yeah, a lot of people say that per se cell phones are not a big influence on the silver price, but I kind of wonder about that because there's so many hundreds of millions of them. I mean, just a whole bunch of little things adding up together, that would affect the price, would it not?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you know, silver, of course, is used in industry. Unlike gold, you generally have you either buy for to preserve wealth, or you know are used in countries like India and China for jewelry. But silver is used tremendously in industry. So yeah, that definitely impacts the price for sure.
Now, what do you think one of the biggest catalysts for your company going forward is?
Well, companies like ours are exploration companies, so the catalysts are to take a property that has very little known on it and advance it by drilling. So right now, you know, we have a 20,000 meter drill program that we announced back in January. So we are on an aggressive path of drilling. We believe we are onto something significant here, and it's not me. You know, look, I'm not a geologist or a mining engineer, so I rely on, you know, people who are much smarter than me. And as I mentioned earlier, I surround myself with, you know, the smartest people in the industry. So, you know, we have, for example, one of the greatest geological minds of our times right now, Dr. Quinton Henne, who is a strategic advisor, technical advisor to a fund in the U.S. called Crescat Capital, and they've invested heavily in our company because Dr. Henne sees what we potentially have here. So catalysts for our companies like us are go out and drill and advance the project, which is what we're doing right now. And, you know, which is why, you know, we're early stage and we're developing and we're moving forward. And we are expecting to be in production later this year, by the end of this year.
Now, you mentioned Dr. Quentin Henning. Exactly who is he and what role does he play in your company, or if any at all?
Yeah, he plays an indirect role in our company in that he's an investor. You know, it took me about 9 months to get his attention. He's a very busy guy, and I just kept calling him respectfully, emailing him, and just kind of trying to get him to take a look at our project. And when he finally looked at it, he just was amazed. His last words after 90-minute call with us was, "You boys have a hidden gem here." So he is a technical advisor to a fund, like as I mentioned, a Crescat Capital. He is a world-renowned geologist. He was a big part of a huge discovery called Kirkland Gold. He's a big part of a company called Newfound Gold, where Eric Sprott, a legend in our business, who invests heavily in. He loves silver. You know, Sprott Management Fund is one of the big players in the industry. Eric Sprott just gave this Newfound Gold like $48 million. So, you know, so Dr. Quinton Henne is a world-renowned, one of the greatest geological minds of our time. And the only role he has in our company is indirect, in that he had his fund invest in our company 3 times now, because he likes it,
Wow.
because he likes the project so much.
Yeah, I've actually heard of him, and then you mentioned his name, and I'm like, let everybody else know exactly who he is. Now, I'm not big in the mining space. It's something new to me. I do want to know more. I mean, I want to know so much more. There's a lot to know. You know, between digging for different ores and knowing which ones will score, which ones won't. It's pretty heavy investment, is it not?
Yes, for companies like ours, it takes a lot. We just raised, you know, another roughly $7 million. So, you know, we're using that. It's expensive. It's expensive to go find and drill these properties and find. We're fortunate. Our property is very easily accessible. We can drive to it in 45, 50 minutes every day. So our crew goes there every day, comes home to their families every night. But a lot of these properties, you've got to access them by helicopters or float planes, and they're remote, and you can only work them for 3-4 months. We can work there all year round. We're just outside of a town called Smithers in northern British Columbia. So, but it is still expensive to drill and find, ultimately, the product that we're looking for, which is gold and silver.
Does the mining cost affect the paper or physical silver and gold prices?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, ultimately, when you produce something, there's a cost, and the company has to make a profit and a markup and sell it, for a profit. So, costs have gone up over the years for sure, tremendously, just like with everything else, inflation. So there is definitely a relationship to how much it costs to produce and how much it's sold for.
Okay, so that goes back to every little bit of silver used every little bitty place, even though it's a minute amount. When you talk about something such as cell phones, a minute amount, about 30, 35 cents a cell phone. But when you spread that over hundreds of million phones, and then you have another company that's making cell phones, and then you have another company that's using the stuff somewhere else, yeah, it will affect the price. Eventually, these premiums, I think, there's got to be some give somewhere, because the paper market, as you see on the COMEX, versus the physical, they don't jive at all. I mean, they're just so far off. And I was just wondering if that is partly because of mining costs, maybe, or what's your idea?
Well, it's a complex question, because you see all the time people talking about the manipulation that happens in the markets, and it's difficult to understand. JP Morgan was fined a huge amount of money, in the hundreds of millions here last year, because they were caught manipulating these prices. So it's very difficult to figure out what's exactly going on, because it's one thing is clear. The prices where they're at right now appear to be artificially deflated. And, but the question really is, how long can that last? And in my opinion, and in the opinions of people who are much, much brighter than me that I read, it can't last forever. At some point, all of this has to shake out, and the prices have to, explode.
Well, you've told us your thoughts and everything. Let's go ahead and I want to close up. I have one more question. It's kind of simple. How or where can the viewers watching this video go to find out more about your company if they're interested? How would they go about that?
Oh, sure. The best is our website, www.bluelagoonresources.com. There's information there about our projects. There's an email link there. They can email me if they like. I'm a very engaged CEO. I love talking to investors and answering questions. It may take me a little bit to get back to them, because the volume of emails that I deal with every day. But happy to answer any questions and help. But it's a matter of just doing due diligence, and if people buy physical, I buy physical. I think I was telling you earlier.
Yeah, what do you got there? Do you
I'm
have
a
anything?
stacker, right? There's
Oh, wow. What is that? That's
100 ounce silver bar, right? Then I've got some some little ones as well that I buy.
Oh, I'm the coin guy and you're the miner, and I have none and you do. What's wrong with this picture?
But look, this is about preserving wealth, right? I buy as much as I can, both silver and gold. But there's a difference, right? This is an investment. It's a long-term investment. You hold it and you hold it and you hold it because you're preserving. Companies like ours, you take just some discretionary funds that you invest in, because the gain in junior miners is explosive when the market turns. So for every few dollars that silver price or gold price goes up, the junior miner companies like ours are many, many multiples of that. That's the beauty of the stock market. But you have to be careful. You have to be so there's always risks. You always have to do your due diligence and feel comfortable with the investment that you're making. But that's what I would encourage. Go to our website, and of course, Google knows everything these days, right? You can just Google and information.
Google knows it all.
And of course, ask an investment advisor for advice, right?
Yeah. So, guys, as you know, I am not an investment advisor. Please do your research. Are you an investment advisor?
I'm not an investment advisor.
So, guys, neither one of us are investment advisors. Stack some silver, stack some gold. Check out Blue Lagoon. We'll post a link to their website in the description below. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let them know Coin Cruise sent you if you happen to shoot them an email. So, thanks a lot, guys. We surely appreciate it. And don't forget, check out Blue Lagoon. He's right over there. I'll get these fingers right.